Okay, now we're going to do the tail end of the first video. I'm just going to split it up this way. It could also go with the longer part with the next video, but it's basically somebody who measured Sirius and thought we're going around the Pleiades.
Number 3, Hohmann was interested in why the Egyptians used Sirius to mark their calendar, and he discovered that Sirius rises with the sun the same day every year. He did transit timings of Sirius and found that it moved at a rate that kept it with precession, or, well, should we say, from precessing along with the other stars. So here we have a star that is refusing to follow precession. So if the Earth is wobbling, why is it that Sirius keeps rising at the same point? Because as we have seen, we would expect the star to rise in different points as the Earth wobble causes the movement of the Earth to change effectively where we are looking. So why is it that we still believe in precession? Well, both Cruttenden and Hohmann believed that there was evidence that Sirius was in fact circling us. They believed that it was a binary star of the Sun, and that this would explain why it was that Sirius maintained the same position relative to Earth compared to the other stars moving. And they speculated that this gravitational tug was responsible for the precession that we see, so that it wasn't due to the Moon and the Sun, but it was due to Sirius. Now, Jim Wenninger analysed the motion of Sirius in more detail and determined that the motion of Sirius meant that it was not orbiting about a common centre between the Sun and Sirius, and instead that the centre of axis for the Sun and Sirius appeared to be much, much further apart. And in fact, that this centre could explain the whole reason behind precession. So I asked him how he came across this idea.
Before I came to EU, I was pretty much a mainstream person. The source I first got that we were orbiting the Pleiades and Arcturus directly, and then like maybe collectively around the Pleiades. It was in, obviously kind of new agey source, and I basically debunk it because it's unworkable from a gravity-only point of view. For example, we can't be bound to the Pleiades. There's something like 800 solar masses, but whether it's 387 or 425 light years away, there's no way that gravity is going to keep us bound.
And in part 2, we will dive into Jim Wenninger's model in more detail to understand how a very simple assumption could explain this motion in the most elegant way. We will examine our local neighbourhood and draw in the ideas of an electric and plasma universe to help explain this model. As always, be brave, be curious, the truth is waiting for us. Until next time.
The Sun actually moves around the center of the galaxy, like the circle here. It also circles, while Sirius and all other stars go around similar paths. That's why we see them most of the time. There's two different kinds of measurements for speed that you can measure. There's a radial speed, which is like looking at an airplane from the surface. You see the plane going along and you project it across a 2D map on the top, and you can measure how far it goes across. The other one is radial speed, and that's comparing it's comparing the actual change in position of the star to the other stars, and it's usually measured given in the rate ascension difference, the speed and rate ascension and declination. So I don't know, they probably took a measurement and didn't know what it was or how to break down the components. But no, we don't orbit around the Pleiades. The Pleiades is actually about 100 million years old, and the sun is about 5 billion years old, or 4.6 billion years old. So we would have to orbit around an object that didn't exist when the star formed. So that's probably that's. And I never heard of us orbiting Arcturus either. It's just trying to shoehorn what they want to believe into to do the measurements. Okay, thanks for listening to this, and hope you liked and enjoyed it. Have a good evening, or good whatever. Bye.